Saturday morning woke up to sirens and rocket strikes as Hamas launched one of the biggest offensives on Israel in recent memory. At least 2,000 rockets were fired and Hamas terrorists infiltrated Israel in large numbers. Innocent civilians were abducted by the Hamas terrorists, and Israel has confirmed at least 70 deaths officially. But many believe that the death toll could be much higher. Following what was one of the biggest escalations in recent times, the Israeli Prime Minister has declared that the country is at war and the Hamas will pay a heavy price.
אזרחי ישראל, אנחנו במלחמה, לא במבצע, לא בסבבים, במלחמה. הבוקר חמאס פתח במתקפת פתע רצחני נגד מדינת ישראל ונגד אזרחיה. אנחנו בתוך זה משעות הבוקר המוקדמות. כינסתי את ראשי מערכת הביטחון, הנחיתי קודם כל לטהר את היישובים מהמחבלים שחדרו פנימה. הפעולה הזאת מתבצעת בשעות הללו. במקביל הוריתי לבצע גיוס מילואים נרחב ולהשיב מלחמה שערה בעוצמה ובהיקף שהאויב לא הכיר. האויב ישלם מחיר שהוא לא ידע כמותו. אני קורא בינתיים לכל אזרחי ישראל להישמע בקפדנות להנחיות הצבא, להנחיות פיקוד העורף. אנחנו במלחמה ואנחנו ננצח בה. מהבוקר מדינת ישראל נמצאת במלחמה. היעד הראשון שלנו הוא קודם כל לתאר את השטח מכוחות האויב שחדרו פנימה ולהשיב את הביטחון והשקט ליישובים שהותקפו. היעד השני במקביל הוא לגבות מחיר עצום מהאויב גם ברצועת עזה. היעד השלישי הוא לבצר זירות אחרות כדי שאיש לא יטעה ויעשה את הטעות להצטרף למלחמה הזאת. אנחנו במלחמה, במלחמה צריך לשמור על קור רוח. אני קורא לכל אזרחי ישראל להתאחד כדי להשיג את היעד העליון שלנו, ניצחון במלחמה.
So Israel is at war. That is the declaration that came in from the Prime Minister. To get a better understanding of what the situation is like in Israel, Daniel Bordman, journalist, joins us on the broadcast. Thank you for joining us. More importantly, an Israeli resident, a citizen. Thank you so much for joining us. First up, Daniel, if you can tell us, what you know of what the situation is like in Israel. Have you spoken to family members there? What have they told you?
Well, I mean, I'm lucky that the family I do have in Israel, I'm in Canada, not Israel. My family's accounted for. My friends are accounted for. I'm lucky that I don't know anyone who has died, but the situation is pretty dire. This is the worst terrorist attack that the country suffered. This is the biggest crisis since the Yom Kippur War, eerily similar as this is terrorists or attacks on a Jewish holiday in surprise. And the mass hostage takings as well. But I think the message is pretty clear from Netanyahu, at least for now. The objectives are clear. It's one, retake and secure Israel internally. Two, completely destroy Hamas and go after them and eliminate the terrorist organization. So I think that's been outlined. And I think the other key thing from his statement is he did say that Israel is willing to pay an unbearable price, or he phrased it somewhat like that. And this, I interpret, is they're not going to negotiate for hostages. They're going to go in and try and rescue them. And they estimate that there's going to be some horrific scenes of tortured children, women, families being tormented in the most brutal ways possible. Will be coming out to the international media soon to torment the Israelis. But it seems like they're determined to go in and destroy Hamas. And what comes after that, we don't know. Is this Israel having to retake Gaza Strip? Because how much better is the PLO than Hamas? They both believe philosophically that all Jews should be killed. So that's not much of an improvement to many people. And this is the war that's been coming for years. When Hamas took control of Gaza Strip in 2006, after they spent a year killing all their political opponents, and actually the bloodiest conflict in recent Palestinian history, where no one really reports on or counts the dead there, they then declared war on Israel. And their stated intent for the war in Israel is a genocide of not just Jews, but Jews all over the world, not just Israel. It's in their founding charter. They're very explicit. They want world domination. They want an Islamic state that retakes Portugal and Spain, because they were once Islamic too. These are jihadists. They're no different than ISIS. They believe the same things that Hizb ut-Tahrir believes about Kashmir. They believe the same things about Israel. And, once they take Israel or once Hizb ut-Tahrir takes Kashmir or whatever their fantasies are, it's on to other parts of the world for them. So this is going to determine, I think, in large part, how the world reacts to these type of terrorist groups and,
Yes.
and what the strength is to deal with them.
In fact, the kind of images that have been coming in from Israel yesterday all through the day should shake humanity's conscience. Women and even children being targeted, and they've very clearly targeted the residential areas, innocents coming under attack of these terrorists. But I want to ask you, as somebody with a better understanding of what the situation is on ground, the kind of arms and ammunition that was being carried by the Hamas terrorists, what does that tell you? What is the kind of backing that they have?
So they're backed by the Islamic Republic of Iran. They're open about it. The Islamic Republic of Iran is open about it. Everyone knows this, but people in the West who are very well educated have a master's degree at sticking their head in the sand to facts they don't like to hear. So they're funded by the Islamic Republic of Iran. I was warning about this potentially happening if the Biden administration would release massive funds to Iran. Every time the Islamic Republic of Iran gets money, they use it to, in their words, spread the revolution. This means, in their own words, by the Quds Force, IRGC, finding cells of resistance, training them, arming them, and having them create jihadist terrorism to leverage chaos in the region. This is openly their playbook. So we know this is funded from Iran. We know they fund also Hezbollah in the north. They also fund Palestinian Islamic Jihad. And there has been higher grade weapons here. Hamas has been staying out of the fighting in the last year. It's majorly been PIJ to take the heat off of Iran, because when there's a lot of focus on Iran in the international community, it benefits them for having their terrorist proxies act up in Israel, kill a few people here or there. And then when Israel fires back, that becomes international headlines in the Middle East section, and the Islamic Republic of Iran has moved off of them. So that's sort of been the game there. And Hamas has sort of been waiting and stockpiling. I think you've seen years of stockpiling, a new cash injection, some higher grade rockets that they hadn't used before, and a military plan that it looks like they've been going on a long while. And it looks like Palestinians do have some significant intelligence. I mean, it's a 99% chance that they are working with, Quds Force intelligence, Iranian agents. It's almost a near certainty. How many other countries are involved? We don't know that yet, but this is a well-funded, well-financed terrorist organization. And it's also financed by Western countries, because a lot of the aid we give them is going to the government of Gaza. The government of Gaza is Hamas. And a lot of this aid goes to stockpiling weapons to be launched at Israel. And not a lot of it goes to aid. I mean, the only real aid that Gaza ever gets is from Israel, which gives them all their resources. And there's even ridiculous fighting, like the power plant in Gaza. Gaza is powered by a power plant in Israel, and it's one of the main targets of Hamas and Palestinian Islamic Jihad is they try and blow up their own power plant so they could go around and say, look, power is out in Gaza. Look how terrible the Israelis are. Give us money so we can buy more rockets to do the whole cycle again. This has been going on for years, and we've decided to ignore what Hamas says when it's not in English. We have this fantasy that we can negotiate with them for some reason, that we can hug the terrorism away, that there's some deeper issue other than a genocidal ideology of world domination and mass murder. I'm not saying that every Palestinian believes that. That's not what I'm saying. But the government of Hamas very clearly believes that in their founding directives and every single statement they've ever made on television and to their own people. And in all of Palestinian media, this is what they say all the time.
Absolutely. And the visuals speak for themselves. For those who are saying that negotiations are the only way forward, it's clear from these visuals that negotiations may not be the way forward. Do stay with us. We have an update coming in. Israeli Defense Forces have announced the death of commander of the Nahal Brigade, Colonel Jonathan Steinberg, who was killed during a confrontation with a terrorist. This is the update that's coming in. Our colleague Rishabh is also joining us on the broadcast with the update. Unfortunate update that's coming in. Rishabh, fill us in with the details, please.
Well, what we are learning that Colonel Steinberg, who is a 42-year-old commander, has died during the confrontation with terrorists. This is a confirmation coming in from Israeli Defense Forces. And remember, now Israel has begun the counter-offensive and have been using Israeli Air Force to bomb and target the Hamas points in various parts of Gaza Strip as well. This is a confirmation that has just come in that the commander of Nahal Brigade, Colonel Jonathan Steinberg, has attained martyrdom as per IDF, the Israeli Defense Forces. This is a report coming in from IDF, a confirmation that a senior commander of Israel Defense Forces have attained martyrdom.
Okay, all right, Rishabh, thank you for joining us with those details. We'll continue coming back to you for those updates. I want to take in a word from Daniel Bordman on that as well. This, of course, is going to be the price of the war that Israel has declared, the fact that the unprecedented attack came in from Hamas. But I want to ask you, Israel around the world is known for its intel as well as military might. So this unprecedented attack, a multi-pronged attack, has come as a surprise, not just to Israel, but for countries around the world. Because of the scale and the precision with which it has carried out this attack. And it came on a holiday, which means that planning had been going on for a long time, and then it was executed.
Yeah, that's a pretty good assessment, that it's planning a long time. And there's a way to explain it. I first will say I would not call the departed colonel a martyr. That's not how Jewish culture would perceive it. We don't glorify or celebrate when someone dies. You could say he's a hero or whatever, but we don't thirst for death. That's not in the culture. So okay. Yeah, this is an unprecedented attack. There are ways to explain the failure. This could be hubris. Again, people are just human, and that goes for the Mossad as well. And this was a cleverly planned, logical outlook. Again, a lot of us have been warning about this. They knew what would happen with a rocket attack. The Iron Dome is not indefensible. It can only take out low-grade rockets. You fire thousands of rockets, and with higher-grade rockets, and you'd break the Iron Dome. And they knew that if they busted through the Iron Dome, the immediate response of Israelis would be hunker down in place, wait this one out, and then when the sirens stop, then come out and reassess. But sort of just like how First World War tactics were pioneered, they discovered if you cover the infantry with an artillery barrage, you can then sneak in right away on the immediate. So while the artillery barrage was going on, and as the Israelis went to ground, they infiltrated it en masse, and that's where the real slaughter began. And this has probably been their plan for a long time. And, Gaza's sort of been cut off. They have no presence. Israel left Gaza in 2005. They removed every single Jew from Gaza. Every Jew was removed from the Gaza Strip to make them happy. They were given farmland, and they were given greeneries and all the infrastructure. They burned it down out of spite and then started a war. So this is the group that Israel is dealing with right now. It is people who absolutely thirst for and revel in death. And they're not going to stop unless they are stopped. And I think Israel has finally realized that.
Absolutely. Unrepentant. Stay on with us. We have more breaking updates coming in of the Al-Watan Tower in Gaza also collapsing after the Israeli airstrikes. The Israeli airstrike has flattened this high-rise building in Gaza. Video of it also appearing on social media. The airstrike by Israel hitting the Al-Watan Tower, causing it to collapse after a huge blast. And this comes immediately after the Hamas terrorists had fired thousands of rockets and sent dozens of fighters into Israel near the Gaza Strip in an unprecedented surprise early morning attack during Shabbat. And thousands of attacks coming in from Hamas, and now you have a counter strike coming in from Israel. Daniel, does it surprise you? Would you say this is the beginning of Israel very clearly saying that they will exact a price for what Hamas has unleashed on Israel?
Well, understand this from the Israeli context, when Benjamin Netanyahu said, this is a war, it's not an operation. And then he summoned the images of, he recalled on the history of the Maccabees, 1948, the Independence War, the 6 Days War, Yom Kippur War. He outlined this is not Operation Protective Edge for a couple of weeks where there's rockets exchanged and the international media counts the amount of dead here and there, and that's the macabre game we play. This is a war. This is an outright declaration of war. They were Their land was invaded. Their people were murdered, raped, pillaged, and taken hostage back. And Israel's going to launch a legitimate war to destroy the enemy who openly seeks their destruction and has murdered their people since their inception. So, this is a war. It's not an operation. It's not like it was in 2014 or the other ones you're used to. We have not seen an Israel full-out war in the social media age, but this is the first war you'll see since maybe the second fight with Lebanon, but even that was pretty quick. Maybe, I mean, probably the biggest war since 1974 is what you're looking at here.
Okay, all right. I request you to stay on with us. Request our viewers also to bear with us. We're slipping into a very short break here. We'll be right back as we continue getting in response and inputs coming in from Israel. We'll be right back with that. Breaking updates coming in as the state of war in Israel continues. Raids are continuing on ground. We are getting in visuals as well, and an update that rockets have also been fired from southern Lebanon towards Israel. That's a big update coming in, that rockets have been fired from southern Lebanon towards Israel. Daniel Bordman is joining us on the broadcast. He continues to get us a better understanding. How do you view this? So we understand in the latest now, rockets have also been fired from southern Lebanon towards Israel.
Yeah, that's huge. This has been the concern and the fear of Israelis for a long time, which is Hezbollah. Hezbollah is better armed. They have more rockets. They have more funding, and they have an easier route to secure funding and rockets. Hezbollah is sort of located in Lebanon, like it's the jewel of the Shiite croissant that the Islamic Republic of Iran tried to build, which is like Iran, Iraq, Syria, Lebanon. So there's a supply route to Lebanon by land. It doesn't have to be snuck into Gaza by tunnels or by blockade running and ship smugglers. Like this is the real enemy. So Hezbollah, of course, backed Hamas when they saw what happened, because Hezbollah is a Shiite terrorist group. Hamas is Sunni. Hamas does not love the Islamic Republic of Iran, but they take their money because they have to. They were much happier to be funded by the Muslim Brotherhood, but when Morsi fell, they had to go crawling back to Iran. But they're united in their hatred of Israel. So this is, you could say this might be like a lot of these terrorist organizations see this as their grand moment. They've been inspired by yesterday's actions, and they are, again, they're radical jihadists, and they believe that they have the divine right to kill and pillage, and that they will be successful as their God will dictate to them. So it's not surprising. It's the fear. Israel mobilized troops to the Lebanese border as soon as this happened, which was a wise move. Expect militants to try and attack from Judea and Samaria on the other front. So this is massive. I'm trying to find, as soon as you said it, I'm trying to find more sources to what's going on. But if there's a full-scale rocket invasion from Hezbollah, this is going to be much, much bigger than you originally thought. Again, this is going to be a full-scale war, the likes of which we haven't seen since 1974, where Israel fought off both Egypt and Syria in a surprise attack on a two-front war. You're looking at a two-front, maybe three-front war if you're the Israelis here. So a lot of the next few days are going to depend, I think, on how strong the Israeli response is and how well they can deter Hezbollah and Hamas and the PLO and Fatah and the Lions Brigade and PIJ and all the different terrorist organizations that wish them death. I think this is a testing thing. Maybe this could just be a few rockets. Maybe Hezbollah wants to stretch the fronts and see how much they can push.
Okay.
We don't know, but it's certainly something that should be followed closely, because that is the most important update you can get right now. Is Hezbollah going to join the front, and is it Israel versus Hamas or Israel versus Hamas and Hezbollah, and Iran by proxy?
Yes, so there's been a dramatic escalation from what we saw yesterday, and this clearly means that something bigger is coming. Daniel, thank you for joining us on the broadcast and giving us a better perspective of what the situation is like. Previously, there have been agreements. In the past, they offered a period of calm, but the deeper underlying issues of conflict have not been addressed, because of which now a dramatic escalation. But this is just the beginning of a retaliation from Israel. We continue getting you these updates. Quick break. We'll be right back.